Good day, my name is Blessing Osarimia Obazai and I'm reaching you from Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. This is Half an Hour with Boo, and it's a wonderful, phenomenal talk show that addresses lifestyle and living. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Also do well to like and share the videos. Today promises to be very exciting because we are going to be talking about entitlement mentality with a wonderful guest. Please don't go anywhere. Thank you. So join me, welcome Oyintaribi Araye. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me on this episode.
How are you doing, sir?
Very fine.
All right,
Thank
sir.
you.
So, sir, what are your thoughts on entitlement mentality?
Thank you very much for that question, and also want to start by saying thank you for having me with you on this episode. We're talking about something very important and crucial to us young people and people growing up in this generation. Talking about entitlement mentality. I want to simplify it.
Okay.
Let's start with mentality. What is mentality? Mentality has to do with the way someone thinks, how he processes information, how he reasons his interpretation to facts. And then you talk about entitlement. Entitlement has to do with something you are owed. You know, you go to work in the morning, you get back home in the night, you do that for 1 month, and at the end of the month you expect to be paid your salary. You're entitled to your salary. It's something that belongs to you. And then when you put the two together, it's someone having a mindset that he is owed something, with or without him contributing to anything. Do you understand? And then if you put that kind of a mindset in a young person, it's going to be disastrous. It's harmful for someone to have such a mindset of being entitled at all times. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, because when you bring out the context to entitlement mentality, it doesn't have a positive vibe to it. And so that's what I have to say about the caption entitlement mentality for my end.
Okay, you talked about it being disastrous. So, how would I know someone is having entitlement mentality?
It first starts with disappointment, you know?
Okay.
You feel disappointed at the other end when your expectations are not met. You just, basically, okay, think about it the normal way. I believe is easy for everyone to understand. You put a call across to someone and you say to them, help me with 5,000 naira where you are. You know, you don't know the person's condition. You just have an expectation that this person has the capacity of meeting my needs. And if he says he doesn't have that money to give out to you, you get disappointed. You know, you feel entitled one way or the other because that's what breeds that disappointment you're feeling. That this person ought not to say no to me. You know, so that's one of the ways to trace and discover that someone is having an entitlement. Because if you're not really feeling entitled, you could cope with disappointments. If it doesn't come, you don't owe it to anybody. That doesn't affect your relationship with the person as a whole too.
What other signs could you talk about? Would you say offense is part of it?
Yes, offense is part of it. I think it's the core because someone having an entitlement mentality would not, everything won't go well with him. I'll tell you a story of my dad. My dad said something to me when I was growing up as a young person. He said, there's a difference between my own and our own. You know, that changed a lot about my life. It took away the pressure of offenses when I'm disappointed, you know. I go to my brothers or something to ask for something and then I don't get it in return. I don't get offended at them, you know, because I always remind myself that my own is different from our own. So I'm not owed anything there. Everything that I want, I should take responsibility for it. You understand? So that takes away that pressure of running down into offenses and all that.
So what you're saying is we should take responsibility for everything.
That's the hallmark. That's the hallmark of life. That's the hallmark of productivity. That's the way to escape the hold of being entitled or feeling entitled. When you wake up and discover that this life is mine, the outcome of this life is mine, I owe it to no one. You know, nobody takes the blame for whatever becomes of me. I take responsibility. You know, those words that my dad said to me were the building block of everything, of my decisions to be independent. Those are the building blocks. He said, my own is different from our own. You understand? If both of us, we go into a contribution and we get something bought together, that doesn't have my name on it. It has our name on it. I can't claim ownership over that thing. I do not have absolute rights of that thing. But if I worked for my money and I got that with my own money alone, it becomes mine. I can do whatever I want to do in the confines of that property because it was absolutely bought by me. Do you understand? And so it's taking responsibility. And today it's painful that you look around our world, you look around our society, and you see very few young people taking responsibility for their lives. They don't take responsibility. Everybody sits back, they're expecting the government, expecting their neighbors, expecting their cities, expecting their parents, expecting their brothers abroad to do things for them. You know, they don't take responsibility. It should be an added advantage if you have someone who is there to show you extra love, show you extra care. It should be an added advantage, not your rights, but more or less a privilege, you know. Do you understand? So it's taking responsibility is the hallmark, and I think it's the way to escape the clutches of being entitled to things.
Okay, so I want to take you to family setting. At what point does a person get to this point where they become entitled? What I mean is, basically there are some things that our parents owe us, if I'm correct. Okay. I think you should start by saying whether that is correct. So growing up, is there a stage at which your parents should leave you to take responsibility? But at what point do you get to that point where you get to take responsibility? Because I believe there are teenagers out there that are listening to us and watching us right now. So you might want to know, at what point should my parents get off my life? And at what point do I start taking responsibility for my life? Because at some stage you might not be able to do certain things for yourself.
That's a very important question. Very, very important question. But basically, even the society we live in defines life in two phases. Everybody becomes responsible at a particular age. Socially, that's 18 years. I remember when I was following my dad then to his office. When we get to the gate and they expect you to show your pass or your ID, he says he's a minor, So they refer to me as a minor. As a minor, I wasn't licensed to have an ID to pass the gate, so I have to go with my dad, go with his pass. You understand? Because at that stage, I was less than 18. I wasn't responsible for myself. You understand? So as we grow up, socially, it's expected that at 18, someone should be able to take responsibility for himself. But even in our world today, we still find people who are 21, 22, 23, 24, who are still very much dependent on their parents. I believe one of the issues that things that have lingered is because of sometimes the conditions our parents grew up under. They went through a lot of things and they feel that they need to be protective, very protective. And one way or the other, they instill this dependency mentality on their children without knowing. And you see the guy is 25 years old and he's still very much dependent on his parents. For his every need, runs to them for every single thing. Because to a large extent, the parents has contributed to him being that way. So socially speaking, at 18, someone should be able to sit down and say, come on, what am I going to bring out? What am I going to bring to the table? Even in my family, what am I going to bring to the table? It's expected. I understand our system here, over here in Africa and all that. If we're in a developed society, an advanced society, once someone clocks 18, I think he's out. He's out of the parents' house. They push him out to the world. He takes responsibility for every single thing that happens around him. But considering the fact that we're from this side of town, from this side of the world, he feels that he's always entitled. I go to my parents' house, I must have something to eat. I go to my dad's house, I must have something to drink. They must always welcome me home. Let me share a story also. My dad told me a story of one of his very good friends. He said, what led to his breakthrough from these clutches was his mom. He got to a stage, the mom just chased him out of the house. No more food for you. No more food, no water for you in this house. Just move. Wow. And that was his breakthrough. That was his biggest breakthrough because a time came where he was asked to face life. You know, sometimes we have a lot of safe haven. That's why we don't break through.
Sure.
And that's why it's painful too to know that even in our society there are so many people who are born in a wealthy home, had everything handed down to them. You find little to write about some of those children, not all, some of them. You can't compare the achievements of the children to that of their parents. They don't do better than their parents, most times. I'm not saying generally, I'm just saying a large extent. They don't do better than their parents because they've been put in a place where there are no pressures, there are no worries. But some other persons needed those pressures, needed those worries to break through. You understand? So the family itself, most times, contributes to instilling this mentality and this mindset in young people that are growing up. Just before I hand over to you, I'll just a story of my own breaking point. I was then in school, back then in school, and I woke up one day and I had it deep down in my spirit that you can't depend on your dad forever for everything. And that was my breakthrough point. I just owned up, started taking responsibility for my life, and that was my own hallmark moment. Yeah.
That was a great one. You know, sometimes some things can be very difficult to separate. So how do you separate breaking an entitlement mentality and somebody, for instance, like say a Yahoo boy who is making money, like he wants to be on his own. He has made some choices to make money in a different way. Like, how do you separate that? He's trying to break off from being entitled to his parents' money and all that, or maybe there's nothing at all too. So, and now he's off. So, how do you bring balance to that?
One of the ways I think we can bring balance is that many people think about survival alone. They don't think about posterity. They don't think about longevity. And breaking out from entitlement mentality should have a purpose, and the purpose should be for posterity's sake.
All right.
What I mean by posterity's sake is that when I'm done walking the face of this earth, things should live on beyond me. Do you understand?
Yeah.
For that to happen, I can't be entitled all my life.
Yeah.
Because the person I'm going to be depending on can only carry me as high as his shoulders are. He can't carry me beyond his own shoulders. And so if I want to break the ranks, I have to go above. If someone had done 90% and I want to be better, I have to do 91%. If I'm at 90%, I'm not better. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And so most times people are just in a bid to survive, they do things. They don't think about posterity. You talk about someone, a Yahoo boy or something, I believe he's fighting for survival.
Yeah.
He's not looking at posterity, because when you talk about posterity, a lot of values make up posterity. Values are the essence of posterity. Things that are immaterial, tangible and immaterial. Those are the things that makes for posterity, and that's the only way to bring balance. In your bid to escape survival, you must think about posterity. Yeah.
This is actually taking a different turn. I hope you heard it's not just enough to break out from entitlement mentality. It's important to break out for the right reason.
Yeah.
And the reason is for posterity. It's not just about you. It's not just about what you stand to gain. It's not just about what you will be getting. It's about those that are coming after you, those that are depending on you, whose life depends on you. So I want you to speak to the ladies. You know, it's easy in this part of the world to see ladies who are purposeful, and they tend to be called bossy girls and all that. People tend to put them in a spot that makes them uncomfortable because they know what they want. So when a lady does not have entitlement mentality, it looks like she's proud. Do you agree with me? So what would you say to such a lady? I'm not talking about somebody who has a wrong mindset. I'm talking about somebody who really does not have an entitlement mentality as a lady.
I think it looks more confrontational to see a lady who is independent, She's not out there for your money, not out there for what you can give to her because she feels she has something to bring to the table. It's intimidating. The world is intimidated by those kind of persons. And so they respond to her based on the fact that they are intimidated. If a guy was going to date someone like that, he's going to be thinking about if he's someone who is not going to bring value to the table as well, he's going to be intimidated by her. Yeah. But if he's someone who has a vision, who is working towards something, he's going to see that as a blessing. You understand? So I think it's intimidating. That's why the world repels that. But I encourage ladies to be independent, bring value to the table, because that's essential. If we're talking about posterity, we're looking at 5 generations after you, 6 generations after you. Today we talk about people who had lived, walked the earth for some of them thousands of years, some of them hundreds of years, and they are still very relevant because they didn't just survive, they brought value to the table. So anyone who brings value to the table should be really appreciated and commended.
Wow. I hope you are enjoying yourself. Well, I am. I'm learning new things, and I must say this, that, like he just said, sometimes you need to ask yourself, am I bringing anything to the table? It's best when you bring values to the table. It's not just about what you wear. Like I always tell ladies and tell guys, nobody will remember you for wearing the finest shirt. Nobody will remember you for using the latest iPhone. Nobody will remember you for that, but people will remember you because of the legacy that you left. So it's important that we have a value-based society aligned. So lastly, let's talk about how do we achieve this. We have looked at it all around to the best of our ability. So how do we achieve this? Breaking from entitlement mentality.
Let me just wrap it up quickly. What I would say to everyone out there is start from where you are. Appreciate where you are, appreciate your efforts, and just be appreciative of where you are. Many people do not value what they have. It looks so little in their eyes. They don't appreciate it. It looks so small. And so they're thinking about great things, but they cannot fathom why it's looking this small. And they forget that before you get to 100, you have to start from 1. If you take 1 from 100, it can never be 100. Take it to everywhere in the world, it is not 100. And so the journey starts from 1 to 100, not the other way around. So I encourage everyone, wherever you are, start from wherever you are. But wake up every morning determined to take responsibility. Say to yourself, I'm going to take responsibility for the outcome of my life. I'm going to take responsibility for every area of my life. I'm not going to be what the world wants me to be. I'm going to be who God wants me to be, because I believe that's the hallmark of it all. So take responsibility, starting from where you are as you scale to where you want to be. And that's my last word to everyone who is out there, who wants to bring value to the table. Start from where you are.
All right, thank you so much. This is short, but trust me, it was powerful. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. All right, viewers out there, we've come to the end of today's episode, and I'm sure that you enjoyed yourself. Please do not run away from responsibility. Take responsibility for every of your actions. If our government is taking responsibility, I'm sure we'll not be where we are today, but we aren't talking about them. So please, let it start from you. Let the change begin with you. So please, we'll see you some other time, but before then, stay hopeful, stay happy, and remain blessed. I remain your host, Blessing Osanya Obazai. Thank you.